The number of hungry people crossed the 1 billion mark in 2009, one of every 7 persons on Earth. By 2050, the world will have 9.6 billion people to feed. Between now and 2050, the demand for staple grains will increase by at least 60%. Could anyone develop options to feed the world?
Norman Borlaug did. He was a wheat specialist in a pilot program launched by the Mexican government and the Rockefeller Foundation in the 1940s to raise Mexico's agricultural productivity.
Dr. Borlaug worked with researchers and farmers to develop wheat varieties adapted to many types of climatic and soil conditions. This project helped Mexico attain self-sufficiency in wheat in the 1950s. Seeds from the Mexican wheat varieties were used by India and Pakistan in the 1960s to stave off famine, bringing those countries record harvests within 5 years.
This was the beginning of the Green Revolution, the widespread adoption in developing countries of improved crop varieties and farming practices. It was also the beginning of Cimmyt, established in 1966 and the direct successor of the Mexico Rockefeller Foundation program.
Dr. Borlaug received the 1970 Nobel Peace Prize for his contributions to the Green Revolution, worked as a Cimmyt wheat scientist and research leader through 1979, and remained a distinguished consultant for the center until his death in 2009.
Cimmyt is the world's premier center for research, development, and training in maize and wheat, as well as farming systems and genetic resources for these 2 essential food crops. Cimmyt is headquartered in Mexico. The center leads projects throughout the developing world to sustainably increase the productivity of maize and wheat cropping systems. Cimmit's overall objective is to ensure global food security by helping smallholder farmers to improve their livelihoods.
We do this by bringing together partners such as national and advanced research institutes, extension organizations, non-governmental organizations, farmer associations, the private sector, and many others. Cimmyt works to accomplish its mission and objectives through generous funding from national governments, foundations, development banks, and other public and private agencies. Cimmyt is a member of the CGIAR consortium. Applying Dr. Borlaug's model of humanitarian science and fierce dedication, Cimmyt has had great impact in its nearly 50 years of existence. These are just a few examples of the benefits our work has brought.
Cimmyt-derived wheat varieties are sown on more than 60 million hectares in developing countries, over 70% of the area planted to modern wheat varieties in those nations. Larger harvests from those improved wheat varieties are worth at least $500 million each year. Maize varieties developed by Cimmyt and its partners are grown on more than 20 million hectares in developing countries, bringing annual benefits of more than $160 million. Cimmyt maize and wheat varieties not only yield more grain, but are hardier. Thus, farmers can depend on them from year to year under difficult conditions and changing climates. Economic studies value this added stability for farmers at more than $290 million per year worldwide. Cimmyt scientists who developed a more nutritious type of maize were awarded the 2000 World Food Prize. Many other Cimmyt scientists have received prestigious awards and recognition.
Farmers face tremendous challenges. The world population is rising, and in developing countries, many are moving from rural areas to the cities. In some countries, there is greater prosperity, so diets are changing. All of this means that the demand for food grains is going up and up, and will continue to do so. In many areas, groundwater is growing dangerously scarce. The amount of arable land is decreasing, and soils in many places are eroding and or becoming degraded. So farmers must improve their farming practices and grow more food, but more efficiently and in ways that restore and protect water, land, and other natural resources.
Climate change is also making farming riskier than ever. Rainfall is becoming more erratic and flooding more common. Temperatures are expected to rise over the coming decades. Using traditional practices, it's harder for farmers in many developing countries to grow enough food to feed their families and have a surplus to sell. Climate change also hurts consumers, especially the poor, who spend much of their money simply to eat every day. Price spikes can occur because of lower than expected yields in leading grain-producing countries, droughts, or floods driven by climate change. These impacts push up food prices. For the poor, this often means eating less or shifting to cheaper, lower quality foods.
Dr. Borlaug once said, "The first essential component of social justice is adequate food for all mankind." The 2007-2008 World Food Crisis caused political and economic instability and social unrest in both poor and prosperous nations. So how do Cimmyt and our partners help ensure food security and reduce poverty?
Farmers, particularly smallholders, are where the solution starts. Using cutting-edge science, we develop high-yielding, resilient maize and wheat varieties and freely share them with the world. We test and promote improved farming practices like conservation agriculture, precision agriculture, and water-saving technologies.
Cimmyt empowers researchers to help farmers towards a more food-secure, sustainable future through specialized training. More than 10,000 researchers have benefited from Cimmyt training activities. Assuring open access to Cimmit's wealth of knowledge is also critical to our mission. One of Cimmit's chief assets is its world-class collection of maize and wheat genetic resources. This vast seed library contains over 28,000 unique samples of maize seed and 150,000 of wheat. We're using advanced science to study DNA in the samples. Seed and information from the collections are freely available to researchers worldwide.
In partnership with other CGIAR centers, Cimmyt has developed new strategies for collaboration among the world's maize and wheat research and development communities. Known as the Maize and Wheat CGIAR research programs, they are helping to ensure food security in the face of rising demands and climate change while protecting the environment.
Cimmyt is also part of the Climate Change, Agriculture and Food Security CGIAR research program, which coordinates shared research to raise crop and farming system yields under increasing heat and drought conditions. In 2011, Cimmit's long-standing work in South Asia resulted in the creation of the Borlaug Institute for South Asia, or BISA. By 2025, India is expected to become the world's most populous nation, and populations in other nations in the region are expected to double or nearly double. Child malnutrition and poverty rates throughout South Asia are rising, while crop yields may drop due to climate change and other factors. Increasing water scarcity and temperatures over the next decade will begin to reduce wheat harvests. BISA is addressing these regional challenges to increase food security with world-class research and agronomy.
Launched in 2010 with funding from the Mexican government, the 10-year Sustainable Modernization of Traditional Agriculture project, known as MARCH3, brings together more than 150 national and international organizations in partnership with innovative Mexican farmers to obtain higher and more stable crop yields. MARCH3 targets small-scale farmers who lack access to modern agricultural technologies and functional markets. MARCH3 is led by Mexico's Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Rural Development, Fisheries and Food, and Cimmyt.
Our planet's expanding population, changing diets, diminishing natural resources, biofuel demand, and increasingly variable climate are putting extraordinary pressure on the global food system. The work of Cimmyt and its many valued partners on maize and wheat cropping systems is more important now than at any time in the organization's history. Dr. Borlaug once said, "If you desire peace, cultivate justice, but at the same time cultivate the fields to produce more bread, otherwise there will be no peace." Cimmyt has been working to fulfill Dr. Borlaug's edict to produce more food, and more nutritious food, in a sustainable manner. Building on his legacy and his work, we think about 2050 every day at Cimmyt, and about the agricultural innovations that farmers will need to feed a global population of 9.6 billion persons.
There is a great deal to do. Investments in agricultural development cannot be delayed. Supporting Cimmyt and its partners, you are the hope of billions of people. Welcome to the future.